Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As some of you might already know, I'm suffering from a very rare sort of cancer. It's a soft tissue cancer called synovial sarcoma. And despite me having a successful surgery about 1 month ago, my personal prognosis is still not looking very good. It's actually kind of bleak. And for those of you who are actually interested in this kind of stuff, I'm trying to put up a new video in the next coming weeks where I go into detail about my tumor, about the facts, the pathological reports, and the studies that I found online. Unfortunately, those studies are my only reliable kind of information because the doctors at the hospital where I received my surgery are very reluctant to talk about this issue. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that this is a very rare disease and that they also only have access to these kind of studies and they don't want to kind of force me into any kind of depression, I think, by telling me the whole truth. And while this may seem to be a very good and sensible approach for the majority of the patients who kind of lived regular lives up to the onset of their disease, I don't think it's the right way to go in my personal case. And accordingly, I would just prefer the doctors to talk straight to me, keeping it real, so that I can make an informed decision on what to do with my life. But up to this point, every time I tried to confront the doctors with my questions and trying to force them to give me some real and straight answers, they avoided me all the time and complain about me being too pessimistic and negative, while in turn they're not even trying to correct any of the assumptions that I make or the numbers that I present. So unfortunately, I think I'm on the right path there. And what this actually means is that I'm expected to have a 25% chance of survival over the course of the next 3 years. And in regard to 5 years, we are talking about a 12% chance. And all this is based upon a study where important prognostic factors that are very negative in my case are not even taken into consideration yet. So what I'm guessing is that the realistic values are looking even worse than this. But to be honest, I would like to drop this issue now with all the survival percentages and stuff, because in reality, I'm not such a negative and pessimistic person that the doctors think I am. And I just provided these numbers here as to act as some sort of backdrop, making it easier for you to understand why I'm trying to do some really crazy stuff with the rest of my life and why I also feel the need to kind of hurry along the way. What I need to do right now is to start looking and moving forward as long as I'm still in a relatively good condition. I can't wait until some doctor unveils that I'm now officially about to enter the so-called end-of-life phase, the last 3 to 6 months one is expected to live. My life up to now has been such a bad and lackluster experience that some mere weeks won't be enough to at least try to catch up on just a couple of the things that I had to miss out on all those decades. Since this country of mine, Germany, has a lot to do with all the stuff that went wrong, we will need a big change of scenery to be able to muster all of the energy and strength that I've left and that will be required. I will need to go back in time, mimic those years where I was at the pinnacle of my abilities, to have at least a chance of accomplishing something. I know that those years are long gone, but I sincerely believe that I can get back there, if only for a limited amount of time. And the change of scenery that is planned is absolutely key to this. And this is why you can see this map of Japan in front of you, because it will be my final destination. I'm going to leave everything behind, and for good or bad, it's actually not that much. Aside from my mother, I don't have any family left, at least none that is willing to have a relationship with me on any suitable level. I might be going into some details on this in the form of some other video, but now is not the time. I have next to no furniture in my apartment, no electrical appliances like a fridge, a freezer, washing machine, no clothes to speak of, no car, and my beloved PC is going to be 9 years old soon, still going strong, but knocking on wood. No friends, no job, and no perspective on getting one that will be enough to pay for the living expenses of a regular human being. I've been living together with my mother for all the 37 years I spent on this planet so far. The majority of our savings, we actually wanted to leave Germany for good as soon as she would be able to retire from her job. The savings were lost in the face of the 4 years when my mother suffered from a brain hemorrhage. As a caregiver, I nursed her back to health up to the point where she could re-enter her old job at the end of 2016. Immediately after this, my tumor started to grow very rapidly, so I never even had the time to catch my breath. We do have some savings left, and I intend on investing all of it into one last big gamble. I don't want to spend even 1 cent anymore in this country of mine that was only able to provide negative experiences for my mother and me. I think it's true when they say that you will see the real face of any given society when you look at how they treat the weakest members. And if you are suffering from serious chronic diseases or are regarded as a disabled person maybe, you automatically belong to this group of people. Usually I think there are some family ties in place to prevent things from going downhill all the way, but with my family these links are just non-existent, and the worst thing with it is that I don't even know why it's like that in the first place. I might come back to this topic in a separate video as well, because I think it's the story worth telling. Just acting as some sort of sneak preview, my mother insisted that I tell you about the situation where I was in the Netherlands, bleeding heavily from my tumor, running out of options and on what to do. And since my father kind of blocked all our phone numbers, I asked my lawyer in Germany to call him instead, as it might be our last chance to talk. With the unknown number calling him, my lawyer actually managed to get him on the phone, making him call my mother on a mobile phone while she was sitting right next to me. But unfortunately, he had absolutely no interest in talking to me, only speaking with my mother all the time and offering her a spot for me at the family grave for my ashes when I'm finally dead. And that would be everything we could expect from him. And from there on, he kind of kept continuing dwelling on the past, accusing my mother and me of choosing the wrong path with our divorce in the early 90s and stuff like this. And well, this is the kind of help you can expect from my family. I actually often feel like I'm treated like a major criminal offender, but I've done nothing in my life to actually deserve this. But in the case of my father, I think it was offense enough that I was born with a genetic disability and with autism, and that I failed to be the kind of super hero son he imagined I would be. But enough of this right now. I think it's time to get down to business. Well, for me it's a bit like a journey, and every journey has a beginning. And in this case, this new section of my YouTube channel is where it's going to start. Through the videos I will be putting up here, I want to invite you to accompany me on this way, on this journey. And this new section will focus on my real life, the fight against cancer, and my efforts on getting to know what life is actually about. And I mean the life of regular people, the life outside one's apartment. And for now, I will try to provide some background information about me and what I'm planning to do. As soon as I leave Germany, I want to switch to some kind of video logging mode, and yeah, I also think that you will get some face cam footage along the way, if I can make it that far, that is. In contrast to some other channels with similar content, my goal is to provide an honest and untempered view on the things that are actually going down. And in addition, I'm not your random cool dude who tells the world fake stories about all the fantastic things he actually experienced, clickbaiting his way to the top of YouTube. And I think you are in for some really unique content once things start to move forward. At the very least, I think it should be very interesting for students of psychology. Let's do an overview on the first set of videos that are going to cover the planning phase. To keep the duration of each video manageable in a way, I will have to split up the various topics, so expect to have quite a few videos. Overall, there's some kind of arch that I want to follow. At first, I want to showcase the things that I want to do, providing you with some of the details to underline the fact that I'm no gung-ho type who's rushing heedlessly into something he doesn't know anything about. I mean, I'm not perfect in any way, but I try to prepare at least some of the details and upfront. The next set of videos will cover my reasoning behind all these plans. This is where I want to provide most of my background story, offering a lot of details that next to no sane person would post officially on the internet. But the thing is, I'm an autist, and as you might know, most of these guys have a very hard time lying. So, well, here you go. The final set of videos is going to cover the requirements that are actually necessary for my journey. Of course, these requirements are not really set in stone, and I will have to consider stepping down regarding some of my goals. The things that are relevant here are not only financial but also legal matters. For example, regarding health insurance, permits of stay, and so on. Well, this will most likely overlap with my departure from Germany, since I can't afford to wait until everything fits into place perfectly. As an autist, I'm also a perfectionist, and this thing alone has caused me a lot of trouble in my past life. I need to take risks here, as waiting forever for things that won't happen in the first place is even worse than failing at the things that I'm planning to do, as long as I'm giving it my best shot. With this, I would like to conclude this overview, so that I can start working on the first real set of videos, where I will be able to provide more visuals, more details, and more interesting stuff in general. I also want to thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Sayonara.